Hi, this is Liz, and welcome to my podcast, Spiritually Speaking with Liz. Today, I'm joined by the fabulous Katie Helliwell. Katie is a psychic medium with a difference. Not only is her clientele list full of celebrities, she channels her own psychic development activations to support, guide, and activate those looking to connect to spirit. Having struggled to find her spiritual support with her gift, she has dedicated her time to creating Psychic School, an online platform to provide lifetime training to those wishing to explore their gifts and spirituality. Katie's mission is to change the way spiritualism is perceived in the media and to activate as many gifted souls to connect, share, and step into becoming wealthy, multiple six-figure light workers. Katie welcomes her followers to embrace spirituality in their everyday life, to enable them to become spiritually rich. I just love that. Katie, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited to have you here.
Oh, thank you for having me. I love it. It's a pleasure.
Oh, he's great. So if we can dive straight in and to your story. So what got you to where you are now?
Oh gosh, how long have you got? Okay, so it hasn't been an easy road, Liz, at all. It's not something that happened overnight, and it's not something that I highly recommend anyone really follows either. But I had a spiritual awakening, and I think this happens to many people, and there can be moments in our lives that just make us suddenly just do something and just click. I had quite a few of those, and sadly, I ignored most of the nudges. And every time I ignored the nudge from spirit and my guides, ended up with another big nudge. So I was psychic as a child. I was born with my gift, like many people. But the only difference is I don't believe anyone's more psychic than anyone else, but I was more activated as a child than most. So most children can see spirit, but then they tend to be able to block it out around the age of 10, 12. And then maybe their deactivation just never comes back. But mine was one of those that couldn't be deactivated. So from the age of 3, my parents saw me talking to a lady at the bottom of our stairs in our old house where they still live. Her name was Lillian, and she was a lovely old lady. I remember her because I thought she was our cleaner or lived there or something. So she was always there, and I always used to speak to her. And then I'd talk about loved ones that my mum and dad had that I'd never met, that had crossed over, and tell them facts and figures about them. And my parents were quite scared. I've grown up in an Irish Catholic family, so whilst they weren't massively, heavily invested in church, they were of the understanding that we don't really speak about these things, or it's spooky, or please don't say any more type of thing. So they kind of just passed me off and said, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we see them too, and sort of, appeased me, made me feel comfortable. I had spirit friends, which were little children, they used to play with me. They used to have Victorian clothes. Which was lovely. I loved their outfits because I'm into fashion. I love their outfits. And I was like, wow. And every time mum used to take me to Tammy Girl to try and find clothes for the season, I'd be like, oh, can I have these like really nice shorts with these socks pulled up and then these little Peter Pan collars? And she'd be like, what? And at the time it was disco. It was the 80s, so disco was in. So she's like, no, you can wear this disco skirt. And I was like, my friends don't wear that. So my mum was completely perplexed as to what was going on. But it wasn't to the age of about 7 or 8 that I realised that my parents couldn't actually see what I was seeing.
Right.
And that's when everything went a little bit dark, because I had a moment of, oh my gosh, I'm different. They can't see what I can see. And I was really quite frightened for a number of years, up until the age of around, I'd say 15. So I started sleeping with music on. So we used to have Walkmans back then, and I used to put my Walkman with all the wires, so there was no wireless, with the Walkmans on with like Kylie Minogue, Jason Donovan, all these different songs and hits. So I know the songs and words to most songs now because I used to listen to them through my subconscious. Yeah, they used to be embedded. So I know all the words. I don't need a karaoke machine. I can sing with them. So I did all of that, and it helped. It really was a case of what could I do to drown them out. I didn't see it as a gift. I didn't see it as a blessing. I saw it as a curse. In the end, I was so bad, I couldn't sleep. I got really quite unwell with it because obviously insomnia kicks in then you start getting hallucinations from insomnia and things like that. So everything was excavated to the next level. And I said to my mum, I need to do something. So we lived next door to a vicar. So she took me around to the vicar, who was our good friend, and I was friends with his daughter. And she said, can you do something with her? Because I just can't cope with her. I don't know what to do. And those were her exact words.
Wow.
And look, he said, because I was awful. No one had got any sleep. No one understood anything. It was back in the 80s. Nobody knew what to do about anything. It was all taboo. No one, spirituality now is cool.
Yeah.
Everyone talks about it. Everyone's got bracelets with feathers on, and everyone's embracing their inner god and their spirit animal. Well, back then you would have been put in an asylum.
Yeah.
So no one spoke about it. There was nothing. So my vicar, he was lovely, bless him. He said, I can't tell her there's nothing wrong with her because I've seen so many things, done so many house clearings and blessings. I can't explain. I believe her. And Mum said, well, I do believe her, but I don't know how to help her. And he suggested we find a psychic to speak to and help. But there wasn't any. There was literally nobody that was willing to help a child or a family. And I understand why now, because it is very hard when they're young to try and explain this world to them. But I just remember just being lost and scared. So I went into a bit of a childhood, teenage wild years and went out partying, and that helped because obviously you numb everything.
Yeah.
I was always out clubbing and drinking lots of alcohol and things like that and having the best time of my life. It was wonderful. And just ignored my spiritual side. Every time I was drunk, I would read palms in nightclubs and things, and I would go around tapping people and telling them that, like, hi, your nan says do this, this, and this, and don't marry that man. And people would be like, oh, who are you? And then I'd run off the opposite direction. So it got heightened with alcohol massively, the connection, because obviously you're more relaxed, the more flow. So fast forward, and then I had my first daughter at 23, Jessica, and I had a near-death experience with her. So that was quite awful experience for her and for me, but I survived. But during that near-death experience, just before everything happened, I saw a whole bunch in the hospital room. There was like hundreds of people all lined up. And at the time, the hospital were doing tours, you know, when they go around to like maternity units, tours. And I thought, how rude. They've let all these people in on a tour, but nobody was pregnant. And I thought, well, where's all the bumps? So that's how clear the people were. So I was so confused as to what was happening. And I told my mum, and I said, there's all these people in the room. And she knows, she's very spiritual. She knew. And she went, do not look at them. Do not look at them. She started checking all the machines and checking my pulse and everything. And I said, what do you mean? She said, don't look at them, don't talk to them, just look the other way. Because she thought they'd come to collect me. She knew something was up. So she went and got the doctor and said, she didn't tell him what I'd actually said. She said, can you check her over? I said, she's fine. And then half an hour later, my placenta abrupted. So it came away first before the baby. So I started hemorrhaging really badly and everything went really bad. It was awful. So all of these doctors were in. It was Christmas Day. All these doctors were in. It was absolute chaos. There was blood everywhere. It was horrific. And I just saw clouds and I was ready to go. It was awful. But then after I was spared, I thought about it after and I thought, if all those spirits are there, they can't be that bad, can they? So maybe all those years of torment were actually not torment. Maybe they were just trying to communicate, but I was so frightened. I misread the communication. Maybe the communication was just not quite clear and they were just trying anything to get through, and it was resistance hitting, please let us in, and that sort of collaboration there going wrong. So I started to look at maybe they were just being nice. But it took me, Liz, months to go and seek help. I went everywhere. I drove around spiritualist churches. I'd pull up, I'd phone up, and then I'd drive on. And then I'd go again to a different one. And then I'd pull up, phone, yes, we can let you in. And then I'd drive away. I was so terrified because of all those years of hiding under the covers, all the years of throwing holy water over myself. I was terrified of like everything. I thought there was something seriously wrong with me. Now, my story is very dramatic, I know, now looking back, but you have to put into concept the time and the elements we were in at that time. It matched my environment at that time. So I was very different and I didn't feel like I belonged in spirit world with spiritual connection or in the normal everyday people. I was kind of in this no man's land. It was really hard, but I did join a circle and I went in and they're all doing this very deep trance work, very deep, which I thought was quite a lot for a beginner. And it's led me to psychic school. But it was very much like, right, we're going to now go deep into trance meditation and we're going to connect to our inner gods and all of this. And I was like, as somebody who was terrified, I could barely even close my eyes in there. So I was like, okay. So I went along with it, Liz, and I found myself starting to lie. So it's like, yes, I met my God. And I was thinking, I haven't met anyone, because I was sat
No.
there like this with my eye open, because I thought, what if they put me under some spell? What if a spirit enters my body? They didn't give me any reassurance, because no one else had those kind of beliefs that I've met, that spirit were possibly dangerous or dark.
Mhm.
No one. And I was like, am I the only one who thinks this? Am I the only one? But obviously I'm not. But at the time in that circle, everyone was totally surrendering, the most beautiful energy of, I was so in awe of them being able to do that. But that wasn't what I could do. So it took a long time, Liz. It really did, to get anything.
That must have been really hard, because you've gone to somewhere where these people are surrendering to it, but they've not had the fear that you've had, and so therefore they weren't being receptive to you, were they? And they weren't
No.
opening up, and they weren't listening to you, and they weren't looking at you, your energy, how you were responding in that group. That's really sad, actually, that
Mm.
you'd gone for the help, and then it wasn't, you still had the fear.
I don't think it was necessarily, I agree, yeah, it was awful, but I don't think it was their fault. I think it was my fault,
No.
really. Yeah, it was like,
Well,
if I'd have actually said and articulated and said, which I wish I had, I'm terrified, can you help me? They probably would have gone, well, what is it you're scared of? What is it? But I just stood there like this, kind of wanting to disappear into the circle and be insignificant and small, and kind of wanted to just watch and see what happens. But you can't do that in a development circle. You can't
no.
hide away.
No, you can't, but you would pick up if somebody was in one, if you were there with
So,
somebody, even in your online groups, you would pick up that fear. So I don't
yeah, I
think that
do.
was your fault. I
Yeah.
think, and I think this is the importance of psychic school, which we'll get to shortly, of how through the horrendous experience that you've had,
Mm.
how you've turned it around, and now how you can help so many people. And one of
Mhm.
the things I love about you is that you make it all normal.
Oh, thank you.
But it's
Yeah,
not, there isn't that fear behind it, there isn't that ego about it. It's just very matter of fact, this is how it is, this is what's going on, and this is what we do. There's no bells and whistles or unnecessary
no.
things. Anyway,
Well,
sorry,
that's
I
what I
interrupt.
couldn't understand. No, no, you're fine. I couldn't understand why it's not normalized,
Mm,
because I was searching for, because that was the other thing as well. There was this stereotypical look and way and the way they speak,
mm-hmm,
spiritual souls, that I found back then. And I was like, I didn't understand the terminology
yeah.
and the way they spoke and the words. And I just thought, I don't. And everywhere I went, I kept thinking, I don't get this. And it reminded me of when I worked in the bank. And when you work in, if you ever worked in the corporate world,
Mm-hmm,
everything's abbreviated. I
yeah.
don't know why. Everything's like the EBW over there and the go to the SOU team. Like, who are the SOU team? What's the
Mm-hmm.
EB? It's like this secret code you don't know. And it takes you a while to work out what everyone's going on about. And then when I went to Circle, I thought, oh no, because I was working in the bank in the day, children, deciphering that code, deciphering the code of toddlers, and then deciphering the code of then spirit. I thought, oh my God, why can't they just use normal words? Like, why are we using these weird words? So I refuse to talk about anything to do with clairs as well. So, I know what
Mm,
clairaudience is and clairsentience and all of that, but I refuse to talk about them in that sense. I just use hear, smell, send, knowing,
mm-hmm.
talk, see, because I don't think it's necessary for people to feel that it's something they have to learn or outside of themselves. It's something that you have to activate. It's normalized. It's you.
Yeah,
It's in you now.
yeah, it is, whatever you call it, it's there.
Yeah.
So you'd gone to the circle, they'd not been able to help you there was still the fear. So what happened then?
Yeah, so I was still quite feel I carried on with the circle,
Mm-hmm.
and I ended up outshining the circle without being egotistical here. I don't mean it that way. But we go off in pairs, which was my best time. I loved this. We went off in pairs, and then we get to read the person. And that was it. We weren't taught any boundaries, barriers, what we were allowed to say, what we weren't allowed to say, or even ask what ours were.
Wow.
No opening up, no closing down. There was none of that. So I didn't know any of this. We just put in front of the person. They said, right, choose a color that you can see that related to this person. Now I realized they were doing auras, but
Mm-hmm.
at the time I didn't know. I was like, what do you mean a color? Color related. And I was looking at this person thinking, well, his granddad's next to him, wants to show him all this stuff. So I just ignore the color, and I just told exactly what the granddad had said. And she came over, the lady who ran the circle, because everyone I had was in tears. And she's like, what are you doing to these people? And I was like, nothing. And I was like, stop crying. So, and then go, oh, she's amazing. She's amazing. And she was like, what exactly did she say? You're only supposed to say the colours. And I said, I didn't see a colour, but I saw the person's granddad and this, this, and this. So then she picked me out the circle and she's like, come over here, over this room. We go over into these separate rooms in the areas and she'd go, what can you feel in this exact spot here? And I'd be like, wow, I can feel somebody. And I can't remember what it was. And it was something to do with a lady and a man and a twin. And I just remember reeling all this stuff off. And she said, right, let me put you over here. And what can you feel there? And I was like, la, 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 la. And she said, I said, is that okay? I said, is everything all right? And she said, go and sit back down. That's fine. You're a bit advanced and you need to calm down your gift because it's very heightened, which it was. She was completely right. She said, I've asked you for a colour, but I didn't ask you to read. I said, I can't help it. They're there waiting. There's this team there. And she scanned me and she said, oh my gosh, there's thousands of them all around you. And then she said the weirdest thing, which now makes sense. She went, one day I'll be able to say I trained you. And I said, what? She said, you're magnificent. And one day I'm going to say that I've trained you. Well, for me, I couldn't deal with that. So I left and never went back. And that was it. Because I just thought, what do you mean? What can she see? I thought, what can she see? I don't want to do that because I'd gone to turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd gone not to, I know I said I wanted to understand about spirit, but secretly I wanted to turn it off and lose it. Everyone else was there to enhance. I was like, is there a course on how to lose your spiritual gift? I will pay. I'm here. Sign me up. But no, there wasn't. There wasn't a course on that. So I was like, I couldn't go back. So I went to another circle. I found another lady and she spotted the same thing. And then I had to leave that one because I just thought, I just can't do this. And she said, you've got strong healing ability. You need to develop your healing as well. And I was like, don't really want to. No, I just want to read. That's all I want to do. And yeah, it was amazing. So I started going from circle to circle. I was jumping and jumping because I was trying to be insignificant and trying to learn be insignificant, and I couldn't be insignificant. It just wouldn't allow it. So then I kept seeing myself on a stage every time I went to these events. They have like live masses, they call them, if anyone's ever been. And I'd always get picked and I'd always get, you'll be up there one day. And I'm like, oh, I don't really want to. And then I'd be like, well, I can see myself on the stage. And then I get scared and I won't go back. So I was quite in and out of this stop-start energy. So then I found Living TV. Do you remember Living TV?
I do.
Yeah, Living TV. And I started because I was pregnant again at this point. And then I'd found Sally Morgan. I'd found Colin Fry, John Edwards. Who's the other, like Lisa Williams, all of these
Derek
people.
Okora, they were, yeah.
Derek Okora. Yeah. I was in awe of them. I was like, oh, look at these people owning the stage, owning their gifts and telling the world what they could do. And I was absolutely transfixed by them. I couldn't stop watching them. I'd record them all and then I would literally sit and watch and I'd be like this, waiting. And so I'd watch that and then I'd read spiritual books. I went out and brought a book from Waterstones. Other bookshops are available. And it was called Psychic for Dummies. You know, the dummy books. You can actually get a Psychic for Dummies one. So I read that and then I hid it under the settee so no one would find it. And I kept reading it and then buying these crystals to match and stuff. And then like, okay, so I was doing it secretly. And then I started to get people say, what are you doing? Because I could feel people a lot. So friends would go, oh, do you see this for my relationship? I'd always get asked for advice and I'd tell them exactly what they needed to do. And they always come back and ask for more. So then I said, oh, and they said, how do you know everything? So I just know what you need to do. So I started doing little readings on them, only close friends. I wouldn't tell anyone what I could do. And then they were like, oh yeah, and they called me Septic Peg and we all had a bit of a joke about it. And then I started to think, well, maybe I could do this secretly and I'd feel comfortable with that. So I started putting adverts in paper and for people to book in. But it was almost secret. There was nothing apart from a number. I can't believe people rang it, but they did and booked in. So I'd go to all these houses miles away from mine. So it'd be in papers the other side of Birmingham where I live. And I'd travel for a good hour from one side of Birmingham to the other so that I wouldn't bump into them in Tesco or anything and they wouldn't ever know my children or ridiculous, the extremities I went to. So I'd go over and I'd read, but I'd spend hours there, Liz. There was no boundary. Sit for hours reading for all these people. They'd have parties. I'd go along. I was young. I'd often be pregnant. I was just so open to everything, such an empath. And I'd sit there and read for hours. I'd come back about 11:30. And then eventually I got worn out doing that with
Yeah.
no boundaries, not
Yeah.
closing down, not opening up. So I stopped doing it. I was a PA in the day and a secret psychic at night.
I love that. Always makes me laugh.
I was Clark Kent. So I was like literally Clark Kent. But I was scared to fully surrender to it. I liked it, but I couldn't see how I could ever make a career out of it. So I just didn't. I just didn't pursue it. I didn't go on with it because I just thought it's not possible. And I kept saying to my husband, I'd love to do it. And he said, I know you would, darling, but you can't. It makes you ill, which it did. It's like, it makes you ill, and we can't live off that. We have to pay a mortgage. We've got young children. And I was like, yeah. And then I kept thinking, if I'm so tired, toddlers take up so much energy, I can't do this. So I kept turning my back. Spirit always came last, but it always kept coming back.
Mm.
So every time I tried to better myself in my career as a PA and I got really good roles as a PA, worked for really lovely people and, high level souls that were change makers in their own right, and had a great time with them. But it was very much like I knew something was missing. I knew I wasn't being who I was supposed to be. And it irritated me every single day. And that feeling, if anyone's ever had it, is awful. That knowing that you're turning your back on something you're supposed to really be doing, but then you don't know how you're supposed to do it or when. I can't describe it. It was awful, but I went through that for years. I kept searching. I kept trying to do something. I kept trying to better myself, and every time I get stopped, every single time they stepped in, and these were the clouds. I kept pushing and going to try and do a university course or trying to do this extra course at work, and there'd be a promotion, but then the funding would be cut, or all these things would be stopped always. And I sat there one day and I just sat in the car and I went, just give me a sign. What is it I'm missing? I'm obviously missing something. I give up. I'm annoyed. Done everything I know to do. I've took action. I've showed up. I'm a good person. What am I supposed to do? And I just said, I give up. My phone rang and I answered it. I was like, hello. I'm really depressed. Hello. And this woman said, hello, you've been recommended to me for a reading. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I can't fit any more in. I said, I'm ever so sorry, darling. I don't do them anymore. I don't have capacity. This lady's really good, and referred her to someone else and hung up and went, just give me a sign. What am I supposed to do? I bet Spirit were like, oh, goodness sake, woman, that was your sign. Pay attention. I was like, oh my God. So then I carried on doing that. I got very unwell with endometriosis. So I kept badgering the PA role and I got really unwell. So they stopped me ending up going to work. So I was good at my job. And I was like, okay, so I couldn't go to work. I spent time just lying in bed, crippled in pain. I was in and out of hospital. Ended up with numerous problems with celiac disease. I developed allergies. I got celiac disease. I didn't know. It's really hard to diagnose. So I got endometriosis and celiac. So my lower part of my abdomen was absolutely red raw, swollen, horrendous experience. I had all these tests done, every test you can imagine, because there was two things and two separate doctor fields of areas. No one knew what was going on. So everyone didn't know what to do. So they put me in no man's land again. And I was passed from pillar to post constantly. I was very disgruntled, very, just exhausted by it all. It was awful. Anyway, I had a hysterectomy done and I learned I was celiac, and then I started to heal. So then I felt like I got this new lease of life, Liz. I was like this new person. So I was like, okay. And I woke up from my hysterectomy, and the next day I sat there in the bed like a new woman, like empowered. And my husband, Mr. H, said, how are you feeling? I went, I'm going to change the world. Like, what drugs have they given you? I said, I'm going to change the world. And he said, what? I said, I've been given another chance, another chance. This is my awakening again. And I didn't really know what an awakening was really then. And he said, okay. And this was 2015, so it wasn't all that long ago, really. And he said, okay, darling. He said, well, why don't you just focus on being able to stand up and get in the shower, and then we'll work on your awakening. To be like, oh God, really on one now. But I was like, no, I am going to change my world. So I went online and I looked at how to empower your life. And I was like, what do I need? I was like, I need to work from home because I still had to fear the illness would come back and I wouldn't be able to work. I need to work from home. I need to spend more time with my children now well, because I was always ill and missed out so much with them. Like, right, what do I do? I need something flexible, something that's going to help people different. So I joined network marketing. I don't know if anyone's ever joined it. And it was wonderful. I loved it. There was this community of people, all really positive. I found self-development. Didn't really understand it, but I found it. Didn't think I needed it. I did. And then I was like, okay, this is great. And then all these amazing products that I loved, and they were all fantastic. And I was like, oh, and I learned how to build a business online. I learned about social media, marketing, all different things, and didn't realize I was learning all of that. But I still felt unfulfilled. I still couldn't get the success that everybody else around me was getting. I still couldn't get it. I tried everything, Liz, couldn't get there. Felt like a failure. And I was like, again, I'm in no man's land. I belong with the successful ones, and I don't belong with the ones that aren't making the effort. But where am I? I'm in this no man's land again. Why am I always here? So I was like, oh. So again, I just said, right, I give up. I just give up. And I found this lady who's a master in manifesting, and I've literally spoke to her on the phone, become friends with her. And I said, look, I don't know what to do. I just don't know what to do. And she said, do everything you know to do now. I was like, what? And she said, well, do everything you know to do now. So I was like, okay. So my skills are social media. I said, I really want to be a psychic, but I can't. She couldn't believe I was one. I hadn't told her. And all of these things. So she said, just throw them all out there, and whichever one takes off is the one you're meant to do. I was like, okay, let's go with this. So I did. And I read for one of the network marketers. I told her, she was a leader, and I said, oh, she said, oh, I'm going for a reading tonight. And she was helping me with my team. And I said, oh, what type of reading? What do you mean? She said, oh, psychic reading. I said, oh, I do that. And she said, what do you mean? She said, I've known you 3 years and you didn't tell me that. I said, no. I said, I do that. I said, I'll do you one if you want. She was like, oh, yeah, okay. And obviously she'd known me 3 years, didn't know any of this, and just thought I was kind of probably making it up. So I read for her, and she was like, this, Liz. And she said, what? And it was on Zoom. I said, oh, I can't do it on Zoom. I have to do it in person. She was down south. I was in the Midlands. And she said, just try it on Zoom. And I said, well, it won't be the same. I said, I need to be there with you again. Thought that was the only way I could do it. So I did it, and it worked. It was fine, perfect, and amazing. And then I just came off the call, didn't think anything of it. And she posted, not knowing it was a secret, but posted it on her social media. So I'm sat there with my husband watching TV, munching on some chocolates, and then my phone's blowing up completely, which as a network marketer, your phone's constantly blowing up anyway. But this was exceptionally ping, 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 but like something was actually wrong. And like, I don't know if anyone's ever been in the media or something, and someone finds something of you in the press and they just send it you, and all these people send it one after. It was like that. It was like ping, 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 ping. Wow. And I was like, oh God, what is this? What is it? And it was all these people going, can I have a reading? Can I have a reading? But I'd hid it thinking I would be judged, not socially accepted, that would be placed in that no man's land again, that people wouldn't take me seriously, that I wasn't good enough, I wasn't deep enough, all of these things. I just thought, yeah, okay. Even though I had a waiting list before as the psychic secret one, I didn't believe I was good enough, Liz. It was quite, sad, really. But overnight, I had a business success that I wasn't prepared for. I had no sales pages, I had no social media, nothing. And it was just like, oh my God. So overnight, literally overnight, I was booked for a month. Wow. I had all of these readings. I was literally bamboozled. I was trying to squeeze them all into days. And I was just like, oh my God, but I need between 3 and 7 for my babies. So I can't work between 3 and 7. And then after 7, I can sit down to like 11 and read. But it was full on, constant. And I was chasing my tail. But it was, I don't know what had opened, but all of a sudden, I'd got book opportunities to write a book. I'd got people asking me, celebrities reaching out to me in DMs. I was like, I couldn't cope. Every morning I was too scared to check my phone almost, because I was like, what the hell is going to happen today? I had no control over it all. It was just like what had happened. But the reason it happened like that was because I said, look, I surrender. I'll do all of these things. Yeah. Tell me what is the right thing to do. I didn't really believe that anyone would respond back. I built a relationship with my guides to communicate back to people when I'm reading, but not for myself. I didn't really think that was a thing. I thought that was quite selfish to do, because I thought it was misusing your gift. So I just said it as kind of like a reassurance to myself sort of thing. Didn't really think it would work. But because I'd asked, they just gave me everything. And I had like no limits, because there was no boundary at all from me. So I just didn't know what on earth was going on. People were seeing me a month after, and I hadn't seen me for a month. Say, you know, friends that you can sometimes go away a long
Hmm.
time without seeing. And I'd be like, they go, what's new with you? And I'm like, well,
Where do I
I'd be like,
start?
how are you doing this? Like, what is going on? I said, I don't know. I'm actually a little bit scared. I don't know what's going on. It was really weird, really weird.
Isn't that fabulous though? From, I mean, not what you went through, but all
Yeah.
of that, you had to go through all of that experience to get to that point. And like the marketing groups, how they sort of brought along the self-development and all that, and it
Yeah.
just brought you all. I just, this is what I love about people's stories, that it always is that we are the sum of our experiences, aren't we? Or what we've
Yeah.
been through, we become, and this is our gift to share with
Yeah.
others. So I think that's just fabulous that it's, you finally got to it, not what you've been through to get to that, and then
Yeah.
how you've grown it from there. So how did you then manage it from that, from the
Well,
all the
yeah,
messages and
that was it. Then I had to get some structure in
mhm.
because it was just chaotic. And I was getting all these opportunities. I went and did an event at Mind, Body and Spirit with my friend Sarah. That was amazing. But I was only 6 weeks in. I got no website, nothing. I couldn't even read at this event because another company had got the contract to psychically read. So nobody else was allowed to.
Okay.
So I went along and just sort of sat there in this booth and just spoke to people. And some of those people are still my clients now. And I made so many amazing connections and souls. And it was like I didn't even need to demonstrate the work. I didn't realize the power that spirit has in you when you're in your purpose, when you just stand in your purpose and you don't even say anything, how your energy can speak. It's
Yeah.
like people are meant to come to you. I had
Hmm.
people coming from other stalls that were just like, I don't know why, but I need to come and see you. I was like, okay, come and take a seat. Let's have a chat. So it was mind blowing. But from there, I realized I needed help. So I hired a PA straight away, part time.
Hmm.
She was amazing. I didn't have the funds really to cover it, but they were quite, if you can get someone that's a virtual one, they're quite low cost, really. And I just needed someone to help me book people in because I was spending hours going back and forth.
Yeah.
So I sat down and realized, where am I actually? I need to be reading, I need to be connecting, I need to be doing that. And then I need someone to help me with the admin side of things
Hmm.
because I wasn't very technical. I'm still not very technical nowadays. I'm useless. So I wanted someone to help me with that. So she was fantastic. She helped me, got me a booking system in place. Then she told me I need a website. I was like, oh, okay. So I got somebody to build me a website. No, I built my own website, sorry. But then she added all the technical links in, to
Hmm.
book things or click a button and that. So she did that for me. I built the website. I was so proud. It took me hours, days. So I had a photo. My brother's a photographer, so I went to a local spot, a beauty spot, and got some photos done, which was quite fun. Took hours, and he did all those, and I was so grateful to him. I didn't pay him; it's awful, but in the beginning, I had no money. So he's like, "No, I'm so happy. You're happy." I think my family was so ecstatic that all that
Yeah.
pain had come to some good.
To see you
They were
well.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, they were just really happy. And then yesterday, 5 years ago, was the date I opened my first live event. So
Oh wow.
yeah, I did a live event so that was the January, that was the October. So within 2 months, I'd hired a hall, just a local social club, and it filled out, it sold out 60 people. I didn't want any more than 60. I was so nervous. And I did an event with 60 people, which looking back now, I don't know what on earth, how I got the confidence to do that. But I hired all my family. I got my mom to do the checking in on the desk. My brother was doing photography. My dad was checking all the sound and handing microphones out to people. So it was a family affair.
Yeah, lovely.
And it was lovely. It was really nice. It was a good event. So from there, I started to realize that I was only got so much time. I opened up a Facebook group because they were quite popular then.
Hmm.
I didn't know what on earth I was going to talk about in this Facebook group. I was terrified. And I started to think, well, maybe I could just put a little bit of context in there, maybe some live readings, maybe we could just talk about spirit journey. And I used it really to self-heal myself because I was so traumatized from all the years that I've gone through
Yeah.
that I told the trauma through it. And people seemed to relate to it. So, and there was a
Yeah.
lot of people that could connect to it, but it wasn't with the intention to sell. It was just the intention to talk, just a
Hmm.
space to be open. So I did all of that, and the group's now up to 7,000, and it's
Amazing.
global, which is great. So that's still going. And yeah, so I just started then looking at courses because I thought people need help. At the end of these readings, there was people that needed guidance on things like long-term guidance, and they needed to put certain steps in place, and they needed to activate certain skills and certain connections they've got and certain abilities. And I could see all the pain I was in sometimes back then in their eyes and in their faces and their energy. And I just wanted to eradicate it all. But there's only one of me. So I was trying to create courses and things I could do to give back to help people in a longer period of time, not just on a reading, because I could see that people would become addicted to them.
Yeah.
So I had to put limitations in, like you can't come again for another 5 months. So from a business angle, if you've only got people coming every 5 months, it's not really a cash flow injection to run a business and to grow. So I had to try and think of how I can help them to stop them being needy or like wanting constant guidance. They needed to be able to activate themselves, have guidance, act on it, build their own trust up with their guides, and be set free. So I started doing courses, and Psychic School was born, the circle. I didn't think I was qualified enough to do it. So the first one, I was speaking so fast and all over the place. But then I got better, and then I broke it down. And every year it gets better and better. And it's just phenomenal. And I'm making so many new friends. I've got so many souls that are just shining and activating their gifts. I've got people now that work with me. And we've got something exciting coming that I can't share with you yet, but keep an eye on the Facebook group. It's coming. Yeah, so there's something big happening for them. So they've all got different specialities, different ways that they share their gifts, different types of gifts, and bringing that diversity to spirituality rather than just activating everyone to be the same. Yeah, as the circles are. It's just phenomenal.
It's a shame. I mean, I think there was a place for them, but a long time ago. Things have changed. We're all evolving at a very fast rate, and exactly like you say, people have many different skills, and then I don't, like the churches don't allow you to explore that, do they? They just want to keep you in that mainstream of this is where we're going, and no, don't look to that side, don't look to that side. It's just in this central point where we're going. And I think it's fabulous that people can now open up and come to some. I mean, I have to say, you have a lot of free resources on your website. You've got a YouTube channel, and you've got some very affordable courses on your website as well for people as a dip the toe in, as a start off. Of course, there's a Facebook group, and then as people become more confident, they could go into the Psychic School or the six-figure business development, the development with that. But it's so important that now, and I think in modern life now, we're seeing this, that we are all different. And there might be another psychic medium who opens up and does, well, what you're doing, you know what I mean, that they say that they're doing that, but it will still be with their energy. So they will attract their tribe, won't they? Your vibe attracts your tribe. So there's all spaces for everybody to attract somebody and to learn from somebody. And I think it's so nice to have that in a down-to-earth way, because I think that's what's missing. There's a lot of, I have a bee in my bonnet about elitism. And I think there's a lot of elitism in everything, but in our world, there's a lot of elitism. And even, like you say, even down to the terminology of things, but things can become really expensive. People can be charging monthly memberships of over £1,000 a month. And what makes them any better? It is that experience. And if people want to charge that and they get the people, good for them. But what I'm saying is that there is always a place for free resources. There's always a place for a dip your toe in courses, and then to lead on to things like Psychic School. I think there needs to be more of that, and I applaud you for that, for doing that and bringing it to the people of things you want. Yeah, well, it is, isn't it? There's not many. If you look, there aren't many about. The main, I shouldn't say the main, but like the big psychic mediums, like yourself, they don't put themselves particularly, some do, but not so many in the teaching. They focus on giving the readings, which there's a great deal of power in a reading, isn't there? If somebody's in need of a reading, if somebody's lost somebody, there's a great healing can happen. It just upsets me when people up the prices and up the prices and up the prices, and you think you can't put a price on that. I don't think, to that level. Of course, there's your time and your expertise, but I think that there's quite a fine line with that.
See, I totally see where you're coming from with that. And I think there's a difference with it in many ways. So I can see what you're saying, but I think what happens is when you become well known as a medium, you become in demand.
Yeah.
So because you become in demand, you kind of try and have to sort of manage that in some way. Okay. So what a lot of people tend to do is up their prices to the ultimate level. So it stops people from booking in. Not that they don't want to see anyone that's, traumatized and lost someone dear and is desperate need of a reading. They don't have the capacity to do it. But what they do that I disagree with and I really oppose, and this is where I get on my soapbox, and it's fine for them to do it. Like I say, I disagree because it doesn't align with me, but it obviously works for them. So I will always give peace to people. But texting a number, this is what annoys me about like spirituality, because if you text a number and someone is desperate for that reading, then for £1 or whatever it is that they charge, I think it's more actually, it's not accurate. It's not an accurate reading. It's a generalization. It's almost, I find it a bit tacky. So I have found a way how I can reach more people and help more people and read for more people, and that's coming out soon, without the tackiness, because I just, without that loss of connection. I used to do live readings all the time on Facebook as well. And to be honest, I found they were you get information through that you can't really say on a public live stream.
Yeah.
So then it's like, well, you're giving someone half a reading and they know you're holding back. They can see it and they can hear it. But then it's privacy for someone. You don't want to share that on a public live stream. So stop doing them. And people, they're very popular. People love them. But I also think you don't know people's mental state and you don't know their grieving state. So I think there has to be a duty of care as the medium for how you deliver. But I can appreciate the medium's trying to share their work and is trying to shine their light, and he's also got to live and he's trying to make a business. So there is things there. But I think in answer to your question about your comment, what you were saying about people charging elite prices, I know I've seen them as well. And I think I don't think that's wrong. I don't think it's wrong to charge £10. I don't think it's wrong to charge £1,000 per hour, per reading, whatever it is you do, because the money side of things is energetics. So it's not that it's out of the league, it's that they are energetically, it's not even that they're ascended. The person that charges £10 could be as accurate as the person that charges 1,000, but it's the vibration of that person that they're trying to achieve. So for example, if a person's offering £1,000 reading, it could be something very niche and specific that they're actually offering it on. It could be an emotional block or a trauma. And then the price of healing that trauma, someone who would pay that level is a match for that level. So energetically, just to explain this a little bit more, because I had the realization the other day actually. So if you're reading, so if I went for a reading, which I can't, I'm too ascended, no one can read me. But if I went for a reading, then I wouldn't go for somebody that was kind of so the price you charge yourself is energetically where I feel that you feel your worth is. That is what happens. So that is what happens. That's why I've posted Wealthy Light Worker, because where it is, so I wouldn't go to somebody that would charge a lower amount, because energetically that vibration doesn't match my vibration of where I'm at. Because energetically, what you're pricing yourself or what your income is, what you surround yourself with, what you buy for yourself, where you live, all of that it's not down to circumstances, it's down to the financial energetic vibration you're at in your life and in your area. So if somebody was a millionaire or billionaire and vibrating to go to the next level to heal something really deep, you could probably help them with the healing, probably identify it, but you wouldn't be an energetic match, so you wouldn't connect to the person. You wouldn't
I
be able
see
to
that.
deeply enter into their psyche. So it would feel like someone's been shortchanged or robbed of something, because the money is an energetic. I can't quite just. I hope I'm explaining this properly.
Yeah, no, I'm getting what
It's
you
got to be
mean.
an energetic level. So
Yeah,
it's like if you, yeah, go on.
no, I was just going to say it's really interesting to hear that point of
Yeah,
view, and from a thinking of it from a, I've not thought about it from a manifesting point of view, and you're quite right.
yeah. So
Yeah,
it's a
it's
match.
I
So
do
the
understand where you're coming from with that. Yeah.
Oh, good, because then the people I give a clearer reading to are the ones that are on a match similar to my level,
Mm-hmm.
similar. And what I mean is ascended level, as in
Yes.
spiritual level,
Yes.
activated, and also in who they want to be. Like I'm massively ambitious, massively a change maker.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate we're never done, always growing. So the people that get the most from me and get the clearest, concisest activations and teachings, and it lands and it resonates and the
Mm-hmm.
connections there, and they let me in and they let you fully in and open all the doors, are the ones that are on a similar ascension path. So the price matches the ascension energy path. That's all I kind of wanted to explain.
Yeah. No, I get that. I get that.
Yeah,
I'll sit with that for sure. I understand where you're coming from. I've never had it explained to me like that, and now you've said
yeah.
that. Yeah, that does make a lot more sense.
Oh,
So
good.
on a gear shift,
Yeah.
what do you do on a day-to-day basis for yourself spiritually, your spiritual practice?
Oh, my spiritual practice. Okay, so when I wake up, if I'm not running around and it's my turn to do school run and stuff, I make the girls their lunches and things. I've got three daughters. So I make their lunches, look after Henry the puppy. So what I do is I meditate every morning.
Mm-hmm.
So I do a variation of either deep meditation, or it could be silent meditation. It depends what I need. So I wake up and ask myself, what vibration am I in? What do I need today? How am I feeling? So I check in, I connect on my human self, and then see what my spiritual soulful self is also feeling as well. So it might be that I need grounding more. It might be I need more expansion. It might be I need more deeper connection to my angels. It depends how I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So based on that, I ask myself what I need. Then I go into what meditation would serve me that day, and I drop into the meditation.
Mm-hmm.
I've started using these self-heated eye masks as well.
Okay.
They're really good. They're from, oh gosh, what they're called. I can't remember what the name of the company's called now. But anyway, I've used these and I put them on and I close my eyes because the warming of the eyes makes me feel really, really like sleepy and nice. So I put those on and then I listen to that. And then I do my journaling. So I either write to spirit. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, Dear Spirit, today I feel this, this, and this. I need guidance on that, that, and that. I need support with this. And then I drop in again to spirit and connect and see if there's anything coming forward that I need to action now.
Mm-hmm.
And then I give them permission and allow them to speak to me and tell me what it is that they need. And then I close back down from them. Or I could just journal on myself and say, why are you feeling this way yesterday? Or why did you react that way? So try and understand myself and what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends. But then I also do something for my clients. I've got one-to-one clients. So I sit and say, which one of them needs me the most today? How are they all doing? Is there anything going on with them? Then I get like an alert, like,
Mm-hmm.
well, you need to pay attention to blah, blah, blah. She's at this, this, and this. So I'm like, right, okay. And then I get straight on the phone. Have you had this? Yes, I have. Who told you? Spirit. Okay. So then I get that. So, but then I always go out for a walk. So I walk my puppy Henry, but
Mm-hmm.
I do it in around, again, I choose the path based on what I need. So if I need a forest to walk, or I need trees, or if I need water that day, so I go and do the walk. And that's how I really drop in. I cleanse, I connect, and then I'm reading as well and connecting to my clients. So I open up again multiple times a day and close back down multiple times a day. I keep crystals on myself as well, have salt baths. What else do I do? And then I also, if I'm really kind of in my own head a little bit and too spiritually connected and not being a human enough, I'll go and do something stupid like jumping around the house dancing,
Mm-hmm.
or I'll go and watch a film, or I'll go and see my nieces and nephews, or I'll just phone a friend and have a chat. I'll do something like humanness, because sometimes
Yeah,
dropping into humanness grounds you more than anything.
absolutely. Yeah, I think that dancing's a great. I did a podcast with a lady called Sarah, and she's Dare to Dance, and that's all of just about dancing as if nobody's watching. It's guided to a point by her, but just that letting go and just letting your body move. It's a really good way of clearing yourself energetically as well, isn't it, to anything that you're holding on to.
Absolutely, definitely.
So before we wrap up, I'm going to put all your details in the show notes about your YouTube channel, the resources that you've got, your Facebook, your Instagram, Psychic School. Is there any advice that you could give to somebody, as well as going to your resources and bits and pieces? What advice would you give to somebody who is maybe thinking, I think that there is something with me psychically, mediumistically? What would you recommend for people? What could you suggest for them, just on a day-to-day basis, or something they could do to help themselves?
Okay, so the first thing I'd say is, if you've got, everyone's gifted, so don't sit and question. A lot of people spend many, many years, like myself, question if they're even gifted. You are gifted in some capacity, everybody is. What level of activation you're at is different for everyone. So rather than analysing what level you're at, I would go with, where are you feeling the discomfort of an underdeveloped gift? So are you not sleeping? Are you having visitations? Are you feeling overwhelmed in crowds and people? So are you empathetic? Are you feeling that soul itch of, I need to do something, but I don't know what it is? So focus where in your psyche is at the moment that you're feeling out of sync and you're feeling not quite yourself. And then what I would say to you is, find and understand yourself. You need to start understanding yourself and connecting to you to start with. So it's not a case of meditating, because a lot of people can't meditate. And a lot of people can't, it's not really suitable for them. There's a pattern, there's a way, there's a connection. But what I would say to you is, go and look at, I'm trying to think the best thing. I've got a course that's $22 and it's on my TikTok, which is my new big platform. So if you go onto TikTok, Katie Helliwell, Psychic Medium, it's $22. And it takes you through all of the steps of where you need to start, and identify on there and understand your gift and just understand what it is. And then join a preschool, which is my psychic preschool, which is a free group that I offer, and that's coming out in March. But if not, go and get some books or something. If you don't want to do any of that and that's too soon for you, go and read some books on understanding connection to you. So understanding what it is about you, how you tick, who you are. And look into law of attraction as well. Abraham Hicks is a really good one. I love Abraham Hicks and Esther Hicks. That's a really, and loads of people haven't heard of them. So Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks again, and just understand yourself and take a little bit of time to understand what it is that you like. What are you attracted to? Is it water? Is it woodland? Is it fields? Because the more you go into these energies, the more relaxed you're going to be. And if you relaxed your energy, you can understand what's going on within you more. And you drop into that being, just be, because we're all so busy, we're always on the go. And I think some people are too scared to just drop into just being.
Yeah.
And it's so important, because that's where the answers are. You don't seek the answers outside of yourself. The answers are within you, and your guides are within you and around you. But you need to be able to drop the energy of pressure and stress and doing and thinking. So ground yourself, connect to you, and you'll be guided to the next thing.
Perfect. I love it. Well, I think that's a perfect way to end.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no, I'm so grateful for you joining me. Like I say, I'll put all your details in the show notes below. This will go out on the podcast and on YouTube. So if you like, subscribe and click the notification button, then you'll see any further ones coming up. Thank you again so much for joining me, and I'll speak to you all again soon. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.